Knights of Columbus meeting, which was better. Well, we didn't make it. I wanted to start exactly top of the hour, but it's 1 minute past, but that's okay. But yeah, I know what you're talking about, John, and maybe it's better not to even engage that kind of stuff. But tonight, we are looking at Old Granddad Bonded. Now, I had done a video about this already, and I did some taste challenges involving this. But John, over there in Georgia, you had an idea to do this. Now, what? I'm not trying to put you on the spot, you know, but what gave you the idea to look at this? And, by the way, let me know if my audio starts to deteriorate because I can't hear it. Right. I think the Google Chrome might be fixed, but if you notice any audio deterioration, give me a signal, and then we'll move it over. I'll move it over to the other browser, if it, you know, whatever. Okay, so go ahead.
Okay, yeah, you sound fine now. Well, I just, you know, I think I said on one of our previous Hangouts that I started getting back into whiskeys a little bit. A lot of it had to do with watching your channel, and I think you do a very good job of describing certain characteristics and stuff with the different whiskeys that you review. So I started drinking whiskey again, and really enjoyed it. The problem was when I was younger, I wasn't drinking it neat. I was mixing it with Coke or and it just didn't appreciate it. So I really have been getting back into it lately, and I just watched, you know, several reviews, and it's got some, you know, it's been around for a while, the history of it and everything. So I just thought it would be a cool, and you can't deny that label is so cool. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to pick up a bottle, and just been sitting on it for a while. So ready to get into it.
After you had talked about this, I invited Bill McIntosh and Michael Jennings. I didn't think they had the bourbon, but I said, well, they might, you know, like some people have stuff around the house or whatever, and I didn't want them to be insulted, like just not inviting them, you know what I mean? So they could jump on, and if anybody else wants to jump on, let me know. So you've had this one before?
No, I have not had this one before. As a matter of fact, I have not even cracked open the bottle yet. I was waiting for this.
Oh. It's about $23, right?
It's actually it was $26.99 for the 750 ml bottle. I have had the original, the regular old Granddad, but I've never had the bonded.
I have a bottle of the original, this glass flask bottle of the original. They're very similar, but the Beam stamp and this little indication here. And, you know, until 1983, that stamp would have been glued. It would have been an actual tax stamp glued this way from one side of the bottle to the other.
Right.
Which would show that it had never been opened, for one thing. Secondly, it would tell you when it was distilled, either the fall or spring of a certain year. And the other side, it would tell you when it was bottled. I'm sorry that they got rid of that requirement because it was very good to indicate how old it was.
Well,
here we can only get.
Yeah, the requirements, as far as the process still remains, it's just the fact that I guess they just don't label it like they used to. But isn't it, they still have to, in order to be classified as a bonded bourbon, it has to be made at a single distillery by one distiller in one season and aged for at least 4 years. Is that correct?
I believe so. I could look it up on my files, but it's a pretty strict protocol, and it was done back in 1897. The U.S. government passed a law that would have been during the, I would imagine during William McKinley's presidency, although he was the president until January 1897. But they had a problem with like fake whiskeys going around. I don't mean that the what really whiskey, but in some cases it was just like they were saying Turkey, but then you come to find out it wasn't from Kentucky. It was made in New York, and by some other company that just wasn't wild turkey. You know what I mean? So they thought there was too much flim flam stuff going on, so they instituted the bottled in bond. Obviously, that's a more expensive way to do it, so most companies don't do it. And it has to be, like you said, 100 proof.
Right.
Only be sold at 100 proof. So today it's not a big deal, but at one time that was like a mark of excellence to have a bonded whiskey.
Right.
And then
yeah.
Christian Brothers came out with the Sacred Bond brandy last year, so it's still obviously it's a meaningful thing. They wouldn't have made a big issue out of the Sacred Bond brandy. What now?
There's actually a few bonded whiskeys that are available today, but they're not required. If it is bonded, you don't have to label it as bonded. And I guess it's not hip anymore to put bonded on the label, or some of these companies don't think that it's hip to put bonded on their label. Maybe they think it's an outdated term. So they're not if it is a bonded whiskey, they don't necessarily have to put that on the label. And some of these companies are choosing not to market it like that.
It's weird because years ago you would have definitely wanted to do it. And they have the Jim Beam bonded, and then there's oh well, I don't know them all. You could look it up. We could all look it up. But
you did the Old Crow. Didn't Old Crow have a bonded, or no?
Yes. Back in 1977, that bottle was that bourbon was bottled. Someone gave that to me. Thank you, Bobby Futch. He gave me the bottle. He was like, I'm thinking about throwing that bottle out. You want it? I was going to say, no, I don't want it. He made it sound like it was 20 years old or whatever, but he lost track of time. And I said, I'll take it. I mean, don't just throw it out. So he brought the bottle to work where I work, and then he brought 2 bottles, though. He had them in a bag. He said, I found another one in my cabinet, and I realized I had never opened it either, so you could have it.
Was that the wild turkey one that you did?
I looked at it, my jaw dropped. I just said, I could tell they were way older than what he was talking about. I said, whoa. So I went and put them up somewhere, and then I came home and I started looking up how to tell how old it is. Well, I didn't have to look it up for the bonded because it said on the tag.
Right.
In 1969, I said, oh my goodness. And then it was bottled in 1977, so it had aged in the barrels for 8 years. I said, oh my. So then the wild turkey, I come to find out that it was bottled in 1983, and it had been distilled in 1975, also aged 8 years, but it wasn't bonded because it's 101, right? 101. It's got to be 100.
Right.
But I had people telling me on the internet, I'd have paid you over $100 for that bottle. And they were telling me, don't open it, don't open it. I said, no, it's made for drink and not admiring, you know. So anyway, I drank them. All right. And they were really good, especially the Old Crow. I found it was a little nicer, but it was older too. It was 6 years older. But anyway, so this is your first time. Don't be nervous for your first time. Try it.
All right, let's get that crack.
You can see my bottle was $11. How much did you say yours was?
Well, this is a 750 ml bottle. It was $26.99 actually.
Oh, I saw it today at Mathern's for $22.95.
It's got it.
I saw it for a good $4 cheaper. Ooh, look at that caramel. That amber, right? That copper color.
It is a lot darker than some of the other whiskeys that I've had lately. I guess that, you know, that extra proof, that extra aging too, gives it a little bit darker color.
That regular bottle of Old Brandy. Gee whiz, I got so much stuff in that cabinet. I'm so impatient. I always want to drink it all at once. You know, when I try everything at once, I can't wait. But
No, I'm
I love
starting
the fact that
to. I'm starting to get a little bit of backstock myself, and I don't know. I think you're partially to blame for that.
here's
Because you do such a good job with these taste challenges and stuff. It makes me want to go out and try all these different whiskeys.
oh, thank you. Here's the bottle comparison.
Oh yeah, almost identical, other than that green
Yeah, and then the
bonded on there.
the pawpaw, the granddad's in the middle of the at the top of the bonded, and then you got the green, and they're glass.
Yeah, that's probably one of the only glass bottles in that size that you can get anymore. I'd never see glass bottles in that size.
They're usually
They're
plastic.
always plastic.
But it's no, I think the Canadian not the Canadian Club. I think the Canadian Mist of all things is still glass. But this was $11 even, and this was $9 even. So $20 total for a normal amount put together, which is good.
Right. Hey, Ronald, just FYI, I can still hear you, but you're breaking up just a little bit all of a sudden.
Uh-oh, we'll monitor it.
Okay.
And if it gets bad, I'll jump off and jump back on through the other platform.
Okay.
Because like I said, I cannot hear it on my end.
Yeah, it's getting worse. I can't really understand you anymore.
Okay, go on.
Well, hello out there, YouTubers. Ronald will be back with us shortly. He had to step aside and deal with some technical issues. But yeah, the old Granddad Bonded, the aroma is very pleasant. And I'll wait till Ronald gets back on the call to discuss it anymore, but it's very pleasant in the aroma. Alcohol too, which I guess you're going to get with 100 proof. So it's got a really deep color to it. I don't know what you'd call that. It's not amber. It's copper, like a deep copper color to it. Definitely pick up a little bit more of the alcohol in the nose just because, the 100 proof. And I think the rye too, you get some of because it has a high rye content, you get some of that rye in the nose as well. Just kind of stings the nostrils a little bit. Anywho, I am drinking Old Granddad Bonded out of my Kentucky bourbon barrel ale glass because I don't have a lot of whiskey glasses. As a matter of fact, when we did the Canadian Mist and did the Ancient Age, I used my Miller Fortune glass to review it in because I don't have any of the whiskey glasses.
So it started to go downhill, huh? Well, now we know, right? So we know that there's still some problem there, and updating it didn't really matter. I noticed that on some other hangouts, like the people were doing fine, and then it started to just like deteriorate. I said, "Oh boy."
Yeah. Technology, man.
Now, Goon Flaco 44. Yeah, I started watching the videos, Goon Flaco. He said, "Crazy, not a bad price. How's it taste?" Well, that's what's going to happen right now. You already tasted yours, huh?
No, actually, when you got off the call for a second earlier. I was just kind of describing the aroma a little bit.
Kind of candy, kind of some candy sweetness, huh?
Yeah, and with the 100 proof, you get a little bit more of the alcohol in the nose, and you know it's a high because of the higher rye content. I think you get more of that in the nose. It just kind of stings the nostrils a little bit, but it does have some of that caramel sweetness. You're getting a little bit of the oak.
Yeah,
but yeah,
I'm picking up oak too, and some spice. You see, because this is a high rye mash bill, so you're going to pick up that pepper, rye pepper. What now? Go ahead.
Well, no, that's about it. The caramel sweetness, the oak, a little bit, you know, spiciness that you can attribute to the rye, but very pleasant. You know, and I was talking about the color too. It's like a very deep, I don't know, copper color. It has a very nice color as well. It looks glass. And I was saying it's got some nice alcohol legs too going down the glass as well.
Yeah, it's definitely darker than the standard old Granddad. You've had standard old Granddad?
A friend of mine had a small bottle, and I tasted it, and it was enjoyable.
Okay. Well, let's try this. You go first. So you thought it was enjoyable, but you would be open to, hey, if you get a regular, like a sample bottle again of Old Granddad or a flask bottle, let me know. We could examine that.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. My first time ever here. Oh, wow. A lot of that rye in the flavor. In the back of the palate, in the finish, you get the rye, just the spiciness up the nostrils a little bit. Get some of that sweetness as well. The toffee caramel sweetness. But it's a lot more mild because of the higher proof. So you get more of the pepperiness, more of the oak. You know, it's got like a woodsy taste to it.
Yeah, don't you find it's got a major wood flavor and aroma, especially in the aroma? It is like
it's almost like, and I've heard you describe this in some of your videos in the past, but it's really the perfect description. Almost like sucking on a toothpick a little bit.
Right. Right. I'm gonna put a little water in mine. I think it's just dynamite, but that's me. I don't know what you think, but I think it's dynamite.
I agree. I mean, it's very enjoyable, and the more I'm sipping on it here, the better it gets. You know, the first sip, you know, with these higher proof whiskeys, is always you get more of the rye initially, and you know, I know we were talking the other night about, you know, it's not harsh, it's bold, but you get more of that boldness in the first sip, and then as you sip on it, you kind of adjust to it, and then it smooths out a little bit, and then it really becomes, and it's got a lot of fine qualities.
I think a lot of people would use the term harsh. It probably does better with, when I was drinking down the Old Crow, and it took me a good while now. I just finished it this month or last month, and I started in January. But I noticed when I would add an ice cube and switch it around a little bit, it seemed a little nicer. This one is fiery. It's very masculine. It is just a tough, you know, like people say, oh, that's a grandpa bourbon. You know, it might be a grandpa bourbon, whatever that means, you know, but it's an old school, direct, take no prisoners type approach. And I don't mind it. In fact, I kind of admire it. So I'm giving it a full, like Lance DeLush would say, a full choke-a-boom. I'm going to go all the way with, I think it's just great. and I don't think it has any negatives. But I make no claims to be a whiskey expert by any stretch of the imagination. You never get experience unless you get experience, right? So
right. Yeah, about, I don't know, 6 months ago, I wouldn't have been able to tell you the first thing about whiskey. So it's you get interested in something and you start doing a little research, and it's a hobby. I like to consider I'm a beer enthusiast and a whiskey hobbyist, I think.
yeah, yeah, like people and we take it seriously. I'm not disparaging that, but people take it sort of too seriously. You know what I mean? Like they get caught up in it, and they start to turn people off from the hobby. You know what I mean? Like I've noticed this over the years. They'll say, "What do you know about beer?" And they'll say, the person that's getting into it will say, "Well, I don't really know too much. I'm trying to learn." And then they'll start criticizing the person and tearing them down, and they'll say, "I don't really need.
Yeah,
I don't need to be around this." You know.
Right. Instead of breaking somebody down and kind of turning them off to the whole subject, they should be encouraging them and providing positive feedback. But you don't see that for whatever reason in the beer community and in the liquor, just alcohol in general. I guess you have your top, your high end brands, your middle of the road, and then you have your budget brands, and it just seems like there are so many extreme people out there that are just waiting to, just pummel anything you have to say into the ground because they don't agree with it.
Yeah,
with your opinion.
Give people a hard time, But
right.
I was talking to a guy today on another social media, and he was saying, "I don't know how you can do those hangouts because you get people that make such horrible comments, and all that." I said, "Well, you can't do anything about it. It's like when you walk in the yard, if you have your shoes off, you might get bit by ants. There's ants in the yard, but I mean, you're still going to want to walk outside in the yard sometimes barefoot and enjoy it." So it's like social media and this kind of thing we're doing. You're going to have bad people that are maybe insecure or have some kind of psychological problems or whatever, and they get, and we know about that, their pleasure is derived from upsetting and hurting other people, so, but you can't feed into
right.
it. You don't feed into it because,
well, nothing upsets those people more when you don't get agitated with their comments. It just fuels their rage even more because they want to elicit a response out of you.
Right. And
so when you don't give them that response, then
right. And I'm not trying to fuel anybody's rage, but the worst thing I think is like feeding into it, and because it's like paying evil for evil, and you don't want to do that, so you just hope that maybe if you do like positive energy projection, whatever you want to call it, that maybe the person could change one day, and maybe like they say in the movies, go towards the light. You know what I mean? Like, get away from the dark side. But anyway, any final thoughts on this? My final thought is that I think it's a dynamite thing, and I might send you an email this weekend when I get a chance. And if you want, I can list all the liquors that I've already opened, and if you would want to examine any of them. I'm not saying go buy them, but you might just run across one that's so cheap, and you might say, "Oh, well, heck, let's look at it,"
Yeah, that's like this one here. I found the early times.
I've got my bottle.
I hope I got the right one. They had like 3 different varieties or variants of it in the store.
They were flavored. The other ones were flavored.
I think one of them, well, maybe one of them was.
Variants, because if you look on the website, it doesn't really list any variants. What's the one you have? Show me again.
I have the, I think it's the original.
Yeah.
Just the 80 proof. It just says.
Yeah, that's the same one I've got. Yeah.
Yeah.
And William Kepley said he's got it too, so we're gonna have to set that up. I just have to get through this open bottle. Like I have a lot of open ones, so I have to work through those. And then
right.
when I get ready to open the early times, I'll let y'all know, and then we can, because I've been doing the taste challenges. Now, if Jethro T. Boots loses out to Jack Daniels tomorrow, which I expect is going to happen, but I don't know it. I'm going to do it.
I don't know.
Hey guys,
now I could see with the Jim Beam, but Jack Daniels to me, I don't know. I'm not a big Jack Daniels fan, which I think I've made known in some of my comments. Not disparaging or anything. It's just I think it has a very old finish that I'm not particularly fond of.
Yeah. Now look, let's say it's a tie. All right. Now if it's a tie, then Jethro T. Boots will still be in the tournament because a tie is a wash, you know. So then I would put it up against the Jack Daniels Green Label, the number 7, not the old number 7. Well, it's not that different, but it's a little different. But let's say that let's say tomorrow the Boots loses. Well, now if the Boots loses, they're out the tournament. That's it. There's no more contest. It's not going to go up against the Green Label. It's not going up against Old Crow. It's not going up against Old Granddad, whatever. It's out because you get 3 strikes and then you're out. It's not.
I thought Jack Daniels had already had its 3 strikes.
No, they had 2. It's hanging on.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the Black Label. But let's say it gets knocked out, so then that'll put us a little closer to being able to open the early times, and then try to get. But I do want to try to make some kind of sensible work through. You know what I mean? I want to work through the stash in a sensible manner because it's so overwhelming. I just kind of went in a frenzy. You know, in the last year, I went in a frenzy. I was buying. Oh, I want to buy this. I want to buy that because it was so inexpensive what I found. So I was just like, but then I said, okay, that's it.
It doesn't take long to build up that stash, does it? I've noticed that, you know, I've only just recently started picking up stuff, and when you have these cheaper whiskeys, you know, $10.99 a bottle, and you see something that interests you, I mean, you pick it up. So next thing you know, you got 10 bottles in your cabinet, and it just keeps growing.
It gets crazy. It's like, hold on, I'm getting a message here. I bet you this message is from David. You know the guy. Oh my goodness. He just sent me a picture. David, the guy I do hangouts with. What is this? Blanton's.
David, yeah.
Blanton's. And I just told him, I said, David, we need to stop. I'm going to respond later. We need to stop what we're buying and call it a day and then drink through what we've got. Now here he goes, and he just sent me a picture. He bought Blanton's.
Blanton's. I've never had Blanton's.
It's made up there in Buffalo Trace Distillery. I made some videos in their bottling house where they bottle it by hand. It's okay. Goon Flacco says, what does adding water do to the whiskey? Well, according to the Barton Distillery, it kind of explodes the taste, like it brings out a lot of flavor. And I noticed that. Brian Jump says, hey, Ron. Hey, Brian. Tyler Mansell says, hello from Wisconsin. Hello, Tyler. Phil Art says, greetings from Sweden, Ronald. Hey, greetings back to you in the Kingdom of Sweden. He said, keep up the good work. Well, I'm going to try. Goon Flacco says, or Flaco says, makes me want to try whiskey. Ha, ha, ha. You know, I think whiskey's an interesting thing to try. I thought the brandy was interesting. The gin was interesting, but I'm not too sure I'm a gin guy. You know, I tried a bunch, and I was like, nah, I'm going to take a break. I'm going to take a break from gin. The wine, yeah, I like. But the gin, I don't hate it, but yeah. I'm going to take a break from it.
Whoever just made that comment about makes me want to try whiskey, I highly recommend it. I started drinking whiskey, watching these videos, and got back into it. So I highly recommend you viewers out there, if you haven't had whiskey, and you won't be disappointed.
Yeah, it's a real fun hobby, man. But then some people got upset. They were saying, "Oh, you're turning your back on beer. You're giving up the beer hobby." I said, I'm not giving up the beer hobby. But it's like you don't eat the same food every time you eat a meal, right?
That's right.
If you ate, let's say you ate fried shrimp. somebody might say, oh, you're turning your back on pizza. No, I didn't feel like eating pizza tonight. But then in the future, I'm going to eat some pizza. It doesn't have to be a all or nothing proposition. It doesn't have to be all beer or all wine or all liquor. It can be a mixture, right? A mixture.
Nobody would expect you, like you said, nobody expects you to eat the same foods every day. So why would you drink the same drinks every day? You know?
I don't know. I don't know why. All right. Well, thanks for watching, folks. We've gone through 30 minutes. I'm gonna go see about Lance DeLush's hangout. Might jump on that for a little bit. Then I'm gonna watch baseball. Now that is true. I do watch the same TV shows every day: baseball, or basketball, or football, and the news. That's about it. Any last comments? My last comments on Old Granddad. It's an excellent bourbon. Old Granddad Bonded, and I would highly recommend that you buy it and try it. What do you say?
I agree. You know, this is my first time having it, and the more I sip on it, the more I enjoy it. So I think as I go through this bottle, it's just going to become that more enjoyable, and I'll pick up different characteristics that I didn't notice. So yeah, like you said, dynamite product, nothing but good things to say about it.
Correct. All right. Well, thanks for coming up with this idea. And then John had the idea, and so did William. Both of them had the idea. William, I believe, originally had it, but this idea to do the early times. That's a historic product. And like William always says, it's not so much that you're drinking the product, you're drinking the history. He likes to bring that up. I said, right, you're drinking the history. Like Budweiser, when we did that the other night, it's like the whole history of it, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, y'all take care, folks. Sorry about my little technical problem, but I think we kind of got our finger on what the issue is a little bit. And that'll probably be corrected as they figure out how to correct it. But we don't run those big companies. If their scientists can't correct it, I know we can't.
Yeah, there's no hope for us if they can't fix it.
No. All right, thanks.